The wedding band. Linda and I, years ago, got married in this spot in the backyard. It's got a lot of work going on back here, so it clearly was a lot better looking yard back then. It was a little botanical garden of sorts. Now I'm doing a lot of changing and destroying a deck and rebuilding it and that sort of thing. So at the time that we exchanged our vows, right here in front of a very small group of people, we exchanged rings, and these were rings that we had just found and purchased. They weren't real expensive, but they were our rings. Ultimately, as our life continued on, Linda had a ring that had 3 diamonds in it, a gold ring, very nice ring, and it had been in her family. And she approached me one day and said, "Would you wear this as a wedding ring, or would it bother you that somebody else had worn it?" And I said, "No, it wouldn't bother me." And so she had it sized, and I began to wear it. Now, throughout our early years of marriage, there had been more than once that I'd lost a ring, just slip out my finger. My hands would be one size in one part of the day and smaller size, and I'd be getting in and out of cars and so forth. And so I had lost a ring before. She'd replaced it. And this ring is very attractive and not an inexpensive ring. It's a very nice ring. And so I certainly didn't want to lose it. Linda, also, I want to add that she was in a power chair. She had a disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth, and she was very insecure. She was insecure about her body. She was insecure about love and affection and all the above. So it was easy for her to be insecure. It was easy for her to be a little bit paranoid and so forth. This container right here used to be, had a little frog that shot water out in it, and it had rocks. Those rocks are now in that plastic bag there, and that set closer over here at that time. And just like today, leaves would come off the trees, and that would be filled with leaves, and I'd come out and clean those leaves out to keep the water flowing, and clean the rocks out and whatnot. So one day, as I was slinging the leaves out, I would just dip my hand in there and throw the leaves. The ring slipped off my finger. And I looked. I was throwing the leaves in this direction, and I looked and I looked. I had metal detectors. In fact, I think at that point I'd actually gone out and got a metal detector. I went and got a big magnet, and I just covered this area that had to go in this area here. I even looked inside the little container there that had water and rocks, and I dug around in there, and I looked around here, and I was just desperate to find a ring. It's a nice ring. It wasn't a cheap ring, and it wasn't just a basic band. Couldn't find it. I knew in my heart of hearts that because of Linda's insecurity that she was probably thinking that, wow, that I didn't want to wear a wedding band. I just had that feeling. Didn't know that. She never said those words, but I just had that feeling that she didn't really, she wasn't really certain that I had just lost the ring. Time passed, her condition worsened, and in March of this year, she passed away. Well, that ring still being on my mind, this was all covered with plants. I came in and chopped and dug, and I looked all through here, thinking I'd find that ring. I knew I lost that ring here. And over the months and even over the years, I'd run the lawnmower through here because weeds would grow, and I would use the blower and clean this area up. And there's even a little place, burn, fire pit. So this was, for me, a trafficked area. And there was nobody else ever came back here. This was not, we didn't socialize as far as people coming back here and whatnot. And as time progressed and her disease worsened and my responsibilities increased, I neglected this area a lot over time. I just couldn't tend to everything, and I didn't have any help. But I would still keep this from just growing wild back here. This was not an area that I was in this area a lot. So now, this day, 8 months later, I'm tending to the needs of a couple of other people. One of them, a friend, him, his wife are friends of mine, been friends for years, and she's in the hospital. Then my best friend, her mother is in the hospital, got a horrible diagnosis yesterday of pancreatic cancer, and I've been at the hospital with them into the wee hours of the morning last night. And I did I was going to come out and do a video update as to what was going on. And I don't mention names when I talk about these people. They're just friends. So I walked out, as I often do to do recordings out here in the backyard. And I saw right in the center path a gold circle. And it struck me, it's like, I did a second take. I mean, once in a while you'll see something, but that was, anyway, I reached down and picked it up. And the ring was there that I'd looked for so diligently, so hard. I found it right here, just right on the surface. It wasn't like it was buried. Well, maybe it was right here, right in the center, where I've cleaned and used the lawnmower and blown leaves and all the above. There it was, right there. Now, to add to that, last night, after I'd come home 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning from the hospital and tried to get a little rest, my friend messaged me early this morning, "How are you?" And I was just waking up. I said, "I've just had nightmares." Linda, she said, "What about?" And I said, "Linda's just visiting me all night long." And when somebody's deceased and you go through something like that, it's not always a comfortable feeling. And it became kind of a restless night. And so that happened. And then after all these years, right here on the surface, not buried, not along the edge, right in the center, as I'm just taking a stroll, which I've done. I've been out here the last several times, not daily, but constantly. And there it was. And I got to tell you, that brought about a peaceful feeling to me. It's hard to describe. Just all of a sudden, I feel very relaxed and very peaceful today, even in the midst of some trauma going on in my relationships. So the question is, did Linda bring this ring back to me? Now, there's something else that's happened in the last little while, and I still have this, but right in this area right here, shortly after we got married, Linda had bought a hammock and had it setting here. There was more. This tree subsequently died and whatnot, and she has a sign that she had put here. And let me show you that sign. And it stood there for years. It stood there. The sign's laying over here. I've got to put it on a new post. She had bought this sign, and she had it over there. And I've got to put it on a new post because it got bent. Kelsey's Corner, keep out. And it was over there after her death. Never before had anything ever happened to this sign. I came out one day and it's laying flat on the ground over here. So I picked it up, I straightened it out, and I put it back up. It never would again stay there. It never would. I would straighten it up, I'd re-secure it, and within a short period of time, days, whatever, it'd be laying back on the ground right there. So finally I gave up and I said, I'm going to reattach this somewhere else, and just laid it aside. And this was the first thing, and then the dreams, the visitations, and now after all this time, the wedding band, the ring. So Linda, thank you. And I take that as a very strong communication that indeed there is something beyond this life, and that you can be provided comfort in so many different ways. And I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate the comfort that this day has brought to me. Unbelievable. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my arms around this, and it's very profound. If you had lived these moments with me, then you could understand even better. My words are not good enough to explain what has taken place here, and how diligently I looked for this ring over the years, not just days and months, but over the years. And what it meant to me to find that is like a validation that what I knew was true. And I feel like it was brought back to me in a profound way on this date for whatever reason. Peace and love, everyone. And know that your loved ones are always with you.